All right, well, welcome everybody to the last webinar for the year, and thank you for your attendance over the last few months. I hope you're all preparing for what will be a nice Christmas and with friends, family, and everyone else, and yeah, travel expanding domestically. We're looking forward to being able to celebrate the end of 21. We look into a 22 that is a much more positive year for all of us. Today we thought it was a good idea, now that we do have some clarity around when borders will open and when we will start seeing international travellers again, most importantly, to revisit something that we've talked about in the past, and that's our refundable booking product. And I'm very pleased to say today that we have two guests with us today who unfortunately weren't able to make it last time we discussed this, and that's Ben and Herman from Refund Protect, and they're here to answer your questions so that you can go straight to the source. And we were just chatting before we all came on how as the COVID situation globally is evolving and we're moving away from government enforced restrictions, how this product and service is becoming even more applicable. We've always talked about how the fact that we think this is something that is far more attractive to the international traveller, because the risks of their travel being interrupted for all sorts of reasons is much greater than domestic travellers. So we want to just this morning very quickly remind you about the Refund Protect product and how, and then literally open the floor up for questions and comments, and and I'm sure Ben and Herman can share with us some of their experiences they've seen with other accommodation operators, etc. And obviously what's happening in Europe and the UK. Because Ben, are you in Europe or the UK right now?
I'd like to say both, but as of a couple of years ago, I guess we don't count as Europe. I'm in the UK, in a small city called Leeds up north by Manchester.
I wouldn't call Leeds that small, mate. I mean, it's probably bigger than Auckland, so.
Yeah, no, it's not too big. I can tell you it's very, very cold right now, but hopefully it gets warmer.
Yeah, and we're having a humidity wave in New Zealand right now, so it's anything but cold. So, but hey, when we were first talking, it was the roles were reversed, so I'm quite happy to have it this way, I can promise you. Herman, where do we find you today?
So today you can find me in Montevideo in Uruguay. So I understand about the humidity. We are experiencing quite a hot summer in Uruguay. But a week ago I was still in Leeds, but came all the way to Uruguay to spend some time with my family during Christmas.
Oh, cool. Well done. So you've been doing some international travel. It'll be interesting to hear some of those experiences right now too.
Yeah.
So, because these are all things that are useful for us to understand when we are talking to our international travelers and guests, as what's going to be required. And I'm sure many of you will have seen the US just implemented a one-day test policy prior to travel for all international travelers on the back of Omicron. So, we're not out of this yet, but at least we can travel, or start to travel, which is very exciting. So, let me just run through the background to Refund Protect again for you, and see Ben, Herman, if I miss anything, you are more than welcome to jump in and correct me. But our background for choosing and finding this product came out of what we saw our friends and clients going through at the start of last year, obviously when COVID hit, and the impact on you all of having to refund so many of your bookings, and or having your OTA partners just refund on your behalf with no influence or control over it. And the amount of money that flowed out of the New Zealand tourism economy was staggering. So it was important for all of us going forward into the new tourism economy that we're entering, that we had to find smarter ways of doing business, because we can't just have all of this money flow out in one direction. And that's where Refund Protect comes in. And this allows you to offer your guests the certainty to make bookings and pay deposits, so you're getting cash flow and you're getting commitment. So have some peace of mind, so that if something happens, and as you can see on the screen here, it's not just COVID, it's literally anything. So Rayma, that unfortunately you were mentioning just before we came on, had they paid a deposit, you would have kept their deposit, they would have got their money back, and would have been, it's something that supports people in difficult times. Ben mentioned before we came on, he literally just traveled into the US last week. It's very stressful because you just don't know what's going to interrupt that travel. This gives you guests peace of mind that they can make those bookings, and should they get their money back. They're paying a 10% fee to secure this this product, and in the event of all of the things you see here and many more need to cancel, they can claim on this, and I'm sure Ben and Duman will explain to us how quickly it all happens, but they get their money back. The monies you've been paid are yours, so you're not having to refund to the traveller. Of that 10% that you will charge them, so if it's a $100 booking, they're paying an extra $10. You get to keep $2. The other $8 goes to support and program. So it's a small revenue opportunity. It's a good cash flow opportunity, but more importantly, it's about that security for your traveller. So on that, I'm going to really quickly add any more to that before we ask questions.
No, John, I think you summed it up perfectly. And just to expand on my trip to America, is we're starting to see this with international travel wherever you go. You're required to take PCR tests or lateral flow tests, and if the airports all over the world are offering this service, a couple of hours prior to actually flying. And you'd be you wouldn't be surprised at how many customers or travelers leave this last minute, including myself, going to the airport just before the flight, taking a lateral flow test is quite a nerve-wracking experience, because the moment that turns positive, you have lost all your money. And these PCR tests aren't cheap, so it adds to the cost of the overall trip. So being able to give that kind of consumer confidence to let them know that if they do suffer a positive, test result, they get their money back, whether it be business travel, personal travel, that helps them recuperate the cost of their accommodation, or if not even more, to ensure that that they are satisfied customers, and even though they're not experiencing their trip, they're at least getting some financial money, some money back to their account. So that's really important. And I guess to kind of expand on those, there was a lot of asterisks there, which scares people, I know, but in actual fact, those are positive asterisks. So anything kind of they're related to, pre-existing medical conditions, accident, injury, those asterisks are actually to let everyone know that that's also including if that affects their immediate family. Who are in the booking. So if you're traveling with your spouse or your kids and they suffer an accident that prevents you from going altogether, that would be included. And I guess another thing to just add as well to expand on is the emergency circumstances clause. Typical of insurance companies, which we are not a contract of insurance, but insurance companies tend to make it hard for the customer to actually claim their money back, make an application. There's a lot more money going in than going out. And so we kind of spun that on its head and said, we don't want to be that case. We are behind the brands of all these big brands across the world, whether it be accommodation, travel, airlines, whatever it may be. So that emergency circumstances on the bottom left, that's essentially a side fund that we invest heavily into that enables us to actually deal with unforeseen or emergency circumstances that are not precisely labeled in the terms that would otherwise in an insurance policy be denied. A perfect example is we had a customer who she said she was going on holiday with her boyfriend at the time. Now, her boyfriend, since then, she actually filed a domestic abuse case against the boyfriend, and therefore she obviously didn't want to go on a holiday with her ex-boyfriend. So, you know, under a normal insurance policy, that's not listed in the terms, that wouldn't be included. Under our kind of emergency circumstances clause, we understand that that's a sensitive situation. We never want the customer to be denied in that case. So all she did was simply upload a simple police report, and she got their money back within 2.5 hours. So, you know, that simple kind of term in itself makes our product one of the broadest products on the market, and enables us to ensure that the customer, no matter the sensitive situation, is getting their money back.
Thanks, Ben. And as hopefully you're all aware, turning this on, it's a quick setting in ResBook. We do encourage you to reach out and let us know, and we'll help you set it up, because we do want to update your confirmation email. So the terms and conditions that this points to are the Refund Protect terms and conditions. So the customer is receiving the information they need to use this cover should they need it. I also just want to point out, because we've had a couple of people who trialed this early and had scenarios where they had tried to claim, and they were sort of treating it like it was an insurance product for them, right? And I want to be really clear, this is not an insurance product for you. It's not actually an insurance product, and that's really important to understand. Business interruption insurance, you'll have, you know, all sorts of, you know, property insurance, etc. So for those scenarios where unfortunate events occur, this is to protect your traveler, and as a result, give you some peace of mind and security as well. So that's why it's a win-win type product. Any questions?
Is it only available with ResBook, John?
At the moment it is. Why? What would you, because you're not on ResBook? There's a simple fix for that, right?
Oh, I know, and so every other person that I know that's in your business says the same thing. But after, I don't know, 16 years or 17 years, we're kind of a bit loyal. Yeah, okay, so that's question one. And is it only on the deposit, or would it be like within your cancellation policy? Because actually in 20 years of business, we've never taken deposits. Okay.
Ben, do you want to share on what's covered?
Yeah, so essentially it's 100% of the transaction that the customer pays. We very well know, we've learned off experience, you know, you could leave 30 cents off a refund and customers will chase for that 30 cents. So we ensure that we cover the entire transaction, and that includes the actual stay. It can include any packages. So if you offer, you know, I don't know whether you do a spa package or, you know, a champagne, you know, package or a romantic package, that would also be included in that. And we also refund our own entire fee plus any service fees. So the customer gets 100% back. If you do offer deposits, which obviously you don't, but in a deposit case, it would be, you know, the customer pays the deposit, that's covered for the entire deposit, and when they pay the full amount, that then extends to the full amount. So whether you cover deposits or not, the customer gets 100% back no matter what they pay.
Yeah, so it's 100% of what monies they have paid at the time of invoking the claim. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's within your cancellation period, for us it's 72 hours, and therefore we would normally charge them, does that apply?
So this is where this would apply. Yep.
Because they haven't actually already given you the money, but you would be entitled to take it.
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially we understand that obviously in accommodation with the partners that we work with is that there's a gap usually where you might offer a refundable booking, and then 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours prior to the actual date of stay, that's non-cancelable. So that 72 hours is the perfect time in which that they can go through us and they'd still get their refund. It's also the time in which most of these circumstances actually happen. You know, it's just sod's law that, you know, your boiler breaks at home and it floods your apartment. You're going to have to deal with that. And that always happens within 72 hours or 48 hours prior to stay. So it covers that time, but also the customer can actually, the moment they make the payment, the customer can actually apply for a refund through us anytime up to the time of stay. So, you know, whether they follow the standard terms of sale or they go through us, you know, it's the customer's choice, but we want to pay out. So we try and push the customer through to us first because they've paid that little bit extra. And it just means that you keep the original payment as if, you know, it went ahead. We also, it's important to note, we also allow for 3 months after the date of stay for the customer to still apply for a refund. You know, the last thing that we want to be doing in a mourning period is saying you've got 48 hours to apply for a refund. No. We give that 3 months grace period. It's also, you know, if your boiler does break, the last thing that you want to be dealing with is an application process that is simple, but you just the last thing on your mind. You want to be dealing with the situation. So that 3 months after the date of stay allows for no-shows to actually recuperate their losses as well. So it's kind of an additional bonus that we've added to make sure that we're as consumer-centric as possible.
I just want to add there, you know, he's from Leeds because he's got a boiler, right? So
I forget. I lived in Sydney. I've only just got back from Sydney for the past 2 years, and it's strange not to have radiators in the house. But floods, we'll go with floods then. It's that's what happens in.
The hot water cylinder does the same thing.
It does. Yeah, but I think those are some really valid points there that, you know, even if you're not charging deposits, once you kick into your minimum cancellation period, even if it is 24 hours, you have that opportunity to recover those funds. And, you know, that's when it's hardest to resell the room, right? So that's most likely going to be a loss to you. This stops it being a loss. So it's not just about, getting deposits on booking. It's about really locking in and securing that stay. So suddenly you've got complete peace of mind that if for any reason they don't turn up, you're going to get paid, and they're not going to argue with you because they can get their money back. So it really is quite good like that. And that's why when you set up Refund Protect, while most people currently are leaving it as an option, some people we've spoken to are actually building it into their rates, and they're making it everybody gets this cover. It's an automatic cover they get when they make a booking, and therefore they're just removing that whole question of, oh, did I, didn't I, are you covered, are you not covered? It's done, and they have that peace of mind and security. So highly recommend you guys think about that, because if you roll that 10% in to your overall fee, no one's going to know, and no one's really going to care. So it's really it's quite a valuable service in that regard.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I've got one, John.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any documentation that you need to share with the customer as part of the confirmation process that confirms what Refund Protect is or how they go about a claim, so that should they need to, it's there up front?
Yeah, so essentially in the point of booking, so just kind of run down kind of our structure. So essentially, insurance, you require licenses in the various regions that you operate in. Now, we're not insurance. We're essentially an enhanced cancellation right. Just like, you know, and everyone hates it, but booking.com offer free cancellation. It's that kind of structure. You're offering it as your kind of extended set of terms under your brand, and we're the administrators in the background handling everything in terms of the refund process and everything. So the process is at the point of kind of booking, during the actual booking process, the customer gets an option, the traveler gets an option to upgrade their booking to a refundable booking for all these scenarios. And They've got the terms and conditions which they accept when they select a refundable booking. And those terms and conditions go to a link to a page hosted by us, neutral branded, that explains everything. So it's got all bullet points of these scenarios at the top. And then further down, the customer can scroll down slightly and see exactly what each scenario, what's included, what's excluded, what evidence is required. And what the customer will see is that of various circumstances, a huge variety of circumstances are included, but also the evidence is very, very simple to A, obtain, and B, submit. So once they select, yes, I'd like to select a refundable booking, they pay as normal. We've got nothing to do with the payment gateway. And once they've made that payment, they receive a booking confirmation email as usual. Now, in that booking confirmation email, they've then got the wording to confirm that they have selected the refundable booking. These are the terms and conditions they agree to. And if they suffer an unforeseen circumstance, here's the online application form that they click the link to, and it all opens up the online form and pre-populates most of the booking data that they have. So we take really simple booking detail through the API. They submit that form, submit the evidence, submit the reason for refunds, which on average takes around 5 to 10 minutes. And then what happens is once they've submitted that, they get an email from our customer experience team confirming that submission. And in actual fact, if everything is valid and everything is smooth, which in most cases are, then it's the customer will actually receive their full refund into their bank account within 2.5 hours. That's our average time. In certain countries, we say 48 hours because in certain countries, bank accounts take a little bit longer, like Southeast Asia. But in New Zealand, it's around 2.5 hours, which is the average time from submission of application to money in their bank. So it's super quick. Now, if they're missing key parts of evidence, we can't necessarily validate that straight away. So we'll go back straight away to the customer, requiring the evidence or stating the evidence that is required. So at every single point of the journey, everything's online, everything's via email communication in writing so that they've got it as well. And also at every stage of their application process, whether they've been approved, whether they need the additional evidence or their booking confirmation email uploaded, things like that. That's then communicated as quickly as possible within an hour. So we want to ensure that the customer's fully educated on that. Everything's as easy as possible and smooth, because we deal with various different types of customers all over the world. And if we can make it as easy as possible for the customer, everyone wins.
Cool, that makes sense.
Cool. Any other questions from the audience? I can't see anything in the chat. You're all being very well behaved today, I must say, and very quiet. Joy, anything from you? Need to unmute, Joy, sorry.
Normally Nick has a question. Is he on today?
No, Nick's not with us today.
Hello,
Joy.
Hi, I was asking if you have a disaster at your own property, for example, the hot water cylinder burst, as Rayma mentioned, so that you couldn't accommodate the guest, and therefore you might have to find accommodation for the forthcoming arriving guest at a more expensive property, e.g. the Hilton, if that's the only available accommodation in Auckland, which sometimes happens. Does it cover that? What is the situation then?
No, so this product is designed for personal circumstances preventing a traveller.
Right.
Any kind of business risk to your business isn't included, because that would make the rate far, far higher. We're talking towards 30%. So unfortunately, as much as we'd love to include that, we can't. This is for the customer if they themselves can't attend.
Thank you so much. That's what I wondered.
Yeah. And I think, again, I just want to reiterate that, this is actually a cover for your guests from which you benefit. In that sort of scenario, Joy, that's where your business interruption insurance, etc., should and come in and kick in. And as we all know, obviously a commercial decision you make. But what's really important here is that it's actually it's the guest's policy from which you benefit as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the question.
And just,
all right,
sorry,
we're pretty, go Ben.
Sorry, just to expand on that, John. What we tend to find also in terms of especially international travelers is that a lot of them do take up travel insurance as well. You know, everyone has travel insurance through their banks, through their companies, whatever it may be. But travel insurance is designed mostly for, you know, loss of baggage, or, you know, I get injured in a country abroad, and that's going to cost me a fortune, especially when you go to America. Trust me. So that's they generally have that. So they have the trip cancellation as well. But what travelers tend to find is that they select this product because trip cancellation in insurance policy isn't very broad at all. It's designed not to really refund. In certain cases, you know, it can be used, but it kind of ensures, this product ensures the consumer confidence. It's a much broader topic. So it's the traveler, by selecting this, gets as much coverage as possible. Obviously, there's going to be situations where it's never covered by anything. But, you know, as I said, we've designed our product to be as broad for the traveler. And then, you know, our partners, it's a business risk to yourselves. And it's something that, as I said, if we could, we would. But it's all about the traveler in this instance. And just to give you an idea in terms of the uptake in the accommodation sector, especially in Oceania, we're seeing on average around 38% of travelers actually opt into this. So it's quite a lucrative product when you obtain 2% from the value of every single total transaction. It adds up. And obviously, when it comes to, you know, the international travel opening, fingers crossed, whenever that may be, it's not only providing that consumer confidence to book in advance for the traveler, but also to enable you to actually generate more revenue. You know, albeit 2%, it adds up. You know, these couple of years have been very tough for everyone. So the more revenue, the better. As well as obviously offering, you know, optimized enhanced cancellation rights for the guests. That's the aim, and that's the real advantage to when this pandemic has calmed down.
Thank you, Ben. That's great. So yeah, as I say, I think the real value here is, you know, for bookings you'll start to receive from beyond April here in New Zealand, and hopefully into next summer as the international traveller starts to have confidence to, particularly the long haul people, to come back to New Zealand. But because of the the nature of what we're all going through, we know there's a lot of uncertainty. So this is where this product can really support and help people. So just a reminder, you can turn it on in ResBook very quickly. It adds 10% of the booking value. They will pay 10%. If it's a deposit, they're going to pay the 100% of the booking value, but as part of the deposit, they get back everything they've paid, if it, assuming that circumstances support that, and 99.9% of the time it will. You get that cash for up to 30 days, 35 days, and then you get to keep 2% or 20% of the 10%, but 2% of that value is yours. So there's a cash flow benefit, there is a revenue benefit, but most importantly, there's a confidence for people to book benefit. If you do want to turn it on in ResBook, please let us know, because we will help you make sure that all of those links in the terms and conditions, etc., are set up correctly. The team are very, very skilled at that now. We have seen, just as a matter of, I love that 38%. What we've been seeing for those that have turned it on is about 20% to date. So yeah, this could really start to become very valuable to you all. So just think that up to 40% of your bookings, you had your deposits guaranteed or your cancellation terms guaranteed, makes a big difference to the bottom line and to the cash flow. Rima, we are looking in the new year at having the ability for you to offer this as a standalone product. What we do know, though, if it's offered outside of the core transaction, there's a much lower take up than if it's done within the transaction. So, but we'll chat to you separately about, some options that might be in play in the new year as to how you could take advantage of this, should you want to. Okay, so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope there was some really valuable information there. I certainly got a lot more out of it than I had understood prior. So thank you to Ben and Herman for sharing that with us and for taking the time. It's probably reasonably late in Leeds right now, so
depends how late, what you call late, John. It's only 10 p.m. It's all good. It's all good.
Well done. And he did want me to point out that it's Coke that's in his glass. It's not red wine. I told him it should have been red wine, but anyway, I'm sure if it was any of us, it would have been red wine, mate.
I was going to say,
thank you, everybody.
You never know. I don't want to set the wrong impression.
We really appreciate your support on these webinars over the last few months. We hope they've been of value. We will be continuing these in the new year. We'll leave it a little bit later because hopefully you'll all be so busy in January and early February that you won't want to hear from us. But we look forward to seeing you all again in the new year, and have a wonderful festive season and a safe and happy new year.
Thank you everybody, and this season's greetings to all of you, and happy holidays. Don't work too hard.
No, try not to.
Bye.
Thanks everybody, take care.
It was lovely meeting you all.
You.
Bye bye.